You guys are wondering why I'm saying it like that. I've told you I don't control that picture that you'll see, that little drop, that little picture you'll see on your Facebook or your YouTube page, and trying to make you go, hey, there's that crazy cat that does these shows and just starts to rant. But what's this? What's that all about? And if it makes you click, and if I haven't lost you with that little opening, then we got you roped in here for a special little Tuesday night cup of Ray out here at the Irish 31 at the Seminole City Center. Want to thank Tabitha and the great staff that come over here. They set me up. It's like you can come in here. It takes me 5 minutes to set up. They help me out. They get things moved around. We set up. Um, I did start to show off a little bit lighthearted, but I wanted to just take a moment, if y'all will just with me just for a moment here at the top of this cup of Ray here, to that school shooting that happened today out in Texas. 18 elementary school students and 3 teachers killed. If we can just have a moment of silence just for the families. We're all affected by it, really all of us that are affected by this, but if we can just have a moment of silent meditation. Thank you. Okay, thank you. It's a little rough for me. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to my daughter's 5th grade graduation tomorrow. She's there at school, and she's graduating over to the middle school side, and we're so excited, and so many things are going on. And May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and you guys and girls know I say mental health awareness gives us all a chance to be aware of each other's mental health. And sometimes I hear situations, I don't know all the facts. I just heard about it when I got off tonight. Kind of wanted to do a little show tonight. Wanted to talk about name, image, and likeness. And I got a cat that's joining me tonight, and him and I haven't even had a chance to get into it. But I know once we do, it's going to be good. Also, why does Clyde Christensen announce to the world? Bless Clyde, going back to when he was here under Tony Dungy, and of course with the Colts and his experience that cat's having in National Football League, quarterbacks coach for your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Why does he announce that Kyle Trask is looking at a redshirt year this year? I know the facts. I know Blaine's got this offense down. I understand the fact that behind Tom, Blaine makes the most common sense. But even if you just want to give that 2021 second round pick, Kyle Trask out of the University of Florida, even if you just want to motivate him just a little bit to come into camp, be ready, locking it down. We hear he's doing well. He's getting a lot of practice reps now with Tom not participating in the OTAs. But speaking about Tom participating, we hear today now, we see the video, Tom and Gronk are across the street there over at Legends Field, getting their groove on, getting that timing down. And now it starts to, what's Gronk going to do? We haven't really heard much about him since the party in Vegas in the draft. And now we hear that he's over at Legends Field. Of course, that's where the Bucs last year were practicing, away from the facility on their time, like they do. And you got to imagine the Yankees organization is like, sure, Mr. Tampa Bay, Mr. TB12, Mr. Tom Brady, have at it. I wonder how many people they would let have willy-nilly access to the Legends Field. It's a special Tuesday night cup of Ray. Everything's on the table, but we're talking name, image, and likeness, a little bit of Kyle Trask, Gronk coming back, and anything else y'all bring to the table. My special guest will be joining me just on the other side. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back to a special little Tuesday night. I always say special. Little Tuesday night cup of Ray out here in front of the Irish 31 at the Seminole City Center. Behind me is a studio movie girl. And my soul brother, Mr. Christopher Cole, first comment in here. Christopher, I should have known it'd be from you. Prayers for the families of the babies that were killed today. 18 elementary school students, 3 teachers, families that we're all working. It's the end of the year. They're working towards graduation. They're working towards getting to the next grade. They're working toward closing out that school year as strong as possible to be ready to go to 2022. And families aren't going to have their loved ones come home tonight. We can talk about it any way you want. If it's about the mental health awareness aspect, let's talk about that. Let's talk about listening to each other. But we're also talking about a little NIL tonight. And I got more comments, but I got to bring this cat in because, first of all, if you caught him earlier this evening on the Chop Shop, you know he's locking it down. He's locking it down in a big game sports buzz. And I'm talking about former Buccaneer, former Indianapolis Colt defensive lineman, number 98 in your program, number 1 in your heart, Mr. James Cannida. Welcome to the show. James, how are you doing tonight?
Man, Ray, it's been way too long, man. I'm great. How you doing?
Brother, I tell you, it has been because we had it set up. We were going to do this. And when I saw it, because, you come from the University of Nevada, the Buccaneers draft you in Nevada. I'm right there, correct?
Mm-hmm.
If anyone's more positioned to understand, jumping right into the name, image, and likeness. And I know you got some feelings about it. I don't know. I probably have an idea where you're coming from, but name, image, and likeness. We see the transfer portal, we make the comparison that basically this is basic at NCAA level now. It's become free agency without a
Yep.
salary cap, and you know things are going crazy. But James, having been there at the college, understanding what it takes to stay scholastically sharp, but continue to make yourself ready to be drafted by the Buccaneers in 1998. What would it have meant for you to have been able to get a hold of a little bit of money under some name, image and likeness?
Oh man, Ray. It's funny because we talk all the time now as former players, and we talk about what we would have done with a little bit of cash back in the
Mm,
day if we had it at our disposal. But now some of these deals that are coming about is amazing. And if you look at the young man who just left the University of Pittsburgh, going to
yes.
USC with over a $3 million deal, who's making more than some NFL wide receivers, it's like wow. Um,
Yes.
Something needs to be done as far as everyone said that it was kind of you're going to kind of open up a wormhole when you put this deal in place, but there's no real cap on what can or can't be paid. So now, depending on what part of the country you go to, what these boosters have at their disposal to give back to these teams, these name, image, and likeness deals are going to be um, some are going to be astronomical, some are going to be small. And
Right.
I talked to an agent friend of mine the other day, and he was like, "Look, big game." He said, now because of name, image, and likeness, I have every parent of a college student calling me. And
Mm.
if you don't have a blue check mark by your name or a certain
Ooh.
amount of followers, he was like, I can't even get companies to look twice at you. So not
Wow.
only are they, so the deal is out there for everybody, yes, but not everyone is going to get something if you don't have
Right.
the following, if that brand that's giving you the money don't think that people are going to take to their brand by you endorsing it because there's no following behind it. It's crazy.
Right. And Johnny Dean from the NFL show here on Bucks Report, I had him on Saturday, makes a great point. And I'm wondering if you agree. We were talking about I threw legalized gambling in there. Now there's nothing coercion going on there. You have the transfer portal, you have the name, image, and likeness, you have these schools, these boosters are starting to go a little bit crazy. But Johnny Dean made a great point. And I wanted to know what you thought that without you can't have name, image, and likeness if you don't have the transfer portal in its current existence. Do you agree with that?
In a sense, yes.
Okay.
Because and the reason I say that is right, you can still have a name, image, and likeness in place to where
Right.
those guys stay at those universities they're at and take what they get from that local area. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're in a
Yes.
small, and I'm just throwing this out there, if you're in a small market, like say a small farm town, like say a
Yeah.
Lincoln, a small, like say what Lincoln, Nebraska is Lincoln pretty
Yes.
small compared to Austin, Texas, and what you can get in Austin because of the area and how big it is. It is what it is. But
Mm.
if you're locked into that school and you get a certain amount of money, I think that's fine. I think that luring players out, and the thing is, there's never going to be any real way of proving. I believe
Right.
that they can say like, "Well, I was done. I've always wanted to go to California and play, so I left Pittsburgh because I wanted to see what Southern California was about."
Right.
How you going to prove that's not the reason that that young man left? So
Right.
he has a point to an extent to where I believe because of the name, image, and likeness deal in place, is making it guys transfer for the wrong reasons. I'll say that.
Oh, that's been my kind of thing, right? Is we don't, and when you come out of college, James, but I mean, we've going back even into the 80s, and you go back and you start, piecemealing what's required of our athletes at really
Hmm.
any level at the collegiate level, but especially those who have ambitions and are probably on a track to make it into the professional league. The sacrifice, the time, the dedication. It was already kind of really making that scholastic side real
Right.
hard, and if you had a great program, then you had those, those things in place to help those students to continue to get that education, to make those grades, to get that full college experience. But now you got students you're going to have, especially because if you're playing at that level, James, I'm sure you'd agree, these all of them feel like they deserve a little something, and they all do deserve to be taken care of. But now you're going to
Yeah.
have students jumping in the portal and transferring from school to school, and not even with the uniformity, if that you will, that you have in the National Football League with the restrictions on free agency and moving and such. And do you think that's going to have an impact, especially on the college experience for these athletes?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm never gonna forget the time I had in school, and majority of that time, a lot of it is football related, but a lot of it is the time with my brothers and just off
Mm.
the field and having a chance to meet my beautiful wife
Wow.
from being a student athlete in school. And we always sit back and have those great talks and conversations about what it was like, and even the struggle of being in school, right? Like, that's just part of life. So it's almost that new mentality of like, I'm going somewhere. I need to play now. If I don't play now, I'm leaving. It's like, the kid at the park with the ball. If I don't get picked, I'm taking my ball and I'm
Gotta
going
go
home.
home.
Right? You're going to go home. And this is kind of the same thing with these student athletes.
Right.
If they're not doing what they want or getting what they want to get, they're ready to leave. And now I think they're going to be enticed by the money. And I believe some student athletes are going to make the wrong decision. Now,
Yes.
I don't want any student athlete listening to this to think that I'm not for you
Ooh, no.
getting paid for what you do. If a college coach can go in and make $9 million a year off of the blood, sweat, and tears of the work that young man, that young lady, or whoever puts in college, then yeah, there should be um, some kind of reward that he's able to seek out. But the thing is, the NCAA could have had this all under control a long time ago if they would have came up with another stipend system to
Right.
pay student athletes that made it an even playing field to where
Right.
now it doesn't get to this.
And that's and so I'm going to leads me into the whole Nick Saban Jimbo Fisher and that's where I wanted to get with you, because when I saw you and I kind of had a little
Yeah,
message back and forth.
and I don't know if you saw my pieces on that, Ray, but I
No,
do I feel a certain way, and I know I'm gonna share it with you when you get to that, man. But
no,
yeah,
you
for
jump
sure.
right into it, because that's why I needed to talk with you tonight. James Cannida, of course, I know y'all know from the Big Game Sports Buzz. First of all, I mean, before we go there, I know you're jumping to get there. How was the Chop Shop tonight, and what we chop it up? What would we chop up there tonight on Chop Shop?
Man, Chop Shop was crazy because first and foremost, the families in Uvalde, Texas, and also the families in Buffalo, New York. We had to talk about
Right.
that, man. It's so much gun violence going on right now, and Jay Stoggs and I and A Reed, we always try to use sports as a bridge to bring people together.
Right.
Um, Life is hard sometimes, so for an hour a night you get a chance to come tune in, laugh, have a good time, and take your mind off of what's hurting you in life. That's what we try to do. But
Yes.
I mean, so early on in the show, we just really gave our heartfelt, not apologies, but just let those people know. And I don't know if anybody from Uvalde knows about Big Game Sports Buzz, but I know about what happened in that community. And I'm a school teacher, right? So I can't
Yes.
even imagine going into the building at towards the end of the school year where we're about in my district we're done, but they're about to end their school year,
Hmm.
have summer plans, and as a parent, you drop your kids off one way and they don't leave school that day. I can't even put it into words, man.
Brother.
So my stomach was in a knot. We spent some
Yes.
time on that, and then we got into basketball, man.
Right. Hey, and the thing is, I saw you posted the school year end. I knew this hit home for you, and I had to ask you about it because, like I shared at the opening of the show here, my daughter's, fifth grade. She's walking the ceremony tomorrow, graduating
Right.
over to the middle school side. And, at the end of the year, all these plans were planned, summer vacations or the end of the school. I told
Hmm.
my kids even today, I'm getting them out of bed. I said, hey, it might be the second to last day of school, but finish strong.
Right.
And then you have something like this happen. So again, just really my thoughts and prayers prayers go out to all the families, not just the teachers, but those young, the
Right.
18 elementary school students. That you don't have to be a parent for that to hit home.
No,
But when
exactly.
I heard about that, and then so yeah, no, and they may, and if they don't know about the chop shop there, they should, because they're missing some good stuff, my friend.
I
But
appreciate that, Ray.
no, I appreciate you. But so let's just jump right in, if you will, to tell them about a little bit about your feelings with the whole Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher, the rich get richer, the poor get poor. How do we feel, Mr. James Canada, about that NIL issue?
Man, okay, it's crazy to me. One, someone texted me and said, "Hey, man, I know you seen what's going on between Jimbo and Nick Saban," and so like I'm like, "Nah, I've been busy in school all day. Let me get here to the side when I get a chance and pull up pull up Twitter."
Right?
And so I heard the interview, and then I saw Jimbo's rebuttal. And this is my thing: Nick Saban's on top. Nick Saban's going to probably go down as one of the greatest college football coaches of all time.
Right.
But now, as a man, not just as a coach, as a man, like if I'm Jimbo Fisher, I come into work, I do a job every day. I'm trying to compete in what is known to most people as the toughest conference for college football, correct?
Oh, yeah. Right. Yes.
Now, I just want to get my team to a level to compete. But if I hire the right people and I do the right things, because I'm starting to get some of those recruits that you used to get, I'm cheating or I'm doing something wrong. I mean, there's no secret Jimbo Fisher left Florida State because the facilities weren't up to par anymore. Florida State had kind of fallen behind the 8 ball.
Yes.
The luster and the mystique of Florida State was falling to these other schools, especially in the SEC.
Yes.
I can tell you, I've been to Texas A&M. Those facilities are phenomenal. They're amazing, state of the art.
Yes.
And if you get the right pieces in there, coach wise, you can convince a young person to come stay. And this is the thing: Texas is a football mecca, right? I can convince you to stay here in these beautiful facilities and still go play against the best talent in the world. I mean, in the country, football wise, because we're in the SEC. And I think that's all Jimbo did. But for Nick Saban to come up, and I'll say this: you show me a college program that's having great success without some kind of cheating going on, and I'll show you I'll show you a wallet that can hold $1 million cash in it.
Well, and right? No, you're right. And I made that. I said that the other day, and one of my guests were like, "Well, they were trying to talk about the colleges that are doing it legitimately, but there's always been the boosters are supporting the programs, and there's always trying to figure out ways to try to, you're not luring there." And we go back to Blue Chips with Shaquille O'Neal back in the day, and Penny Hardaway. Great movie. Wasn't the first movie, or maybe even the best movie, to look into what with Nick Nolte as the coach, the basketball program there, but. So when I first heard Nick Saban, I understood, because Bama on itself was just, you wanted to go to Alabama, just like 2 or 3 years ago, you wanted to go to Clemson, but now you got other schools stepping in there.
Right.
But then he takes this, says that about Jimbo Fisher, and then Jimbo goes right back at him. And let me ask you this, James. If all schools you got USC, Lincoln Riley's out there at USC. It seems like that's the hottest free agency ticket right now going.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's not really it's going to help the product. I don't see it hurting the product as far as the football on the field, other than students, instead of getting those 2 or 3 years to develop and, be on the taxi squad and earn their way onto the starting squad. Now you got players jumping to the first string. They're going to have to learn faster, but we're still going to get pretty good product on the field, aren't we?
Yeah, I don't think the product's going to change. I do think that it will even the playing field a little bit more, because the talent's going to change. And we've seen in the last couple of years, you have some guys that develop late, go to smaller schools, have that dominant year, transfer, get that grad year at a bigger program, and blows up. And you're like, what the world? Who's this cat? I never heard of him before. He's amazing. So you see it. And And another thing, just to get back to Nick Saban, because like I said, he really pissed me off for a minute. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead. No, preach for me, James. I appreciate it.
And so now, because you get a guy like Travis Hunter, the #1 safety / wide receiver in the country, decides to go to Jackson State, and you said that Deion Sanders had to buy this kid for $1 million. Now, Deion Sanders hasn't been coaching college long, but Deion Sanders has been around football long enough. The man has a gold jacket. He's a Super Bowl champion, right? He is
Yes.
able to piece together. If you look at the staff he has and the experience he has at a historically black college and university, that's
Mhm.
almost unheard of to be able to put
Yes.
that type of staff together. So to bring his knowledge, his know-how, and to think that some kids wouldn't want to go play for that they had to buy him. Here it is. You got a Hall of Fame NFL player, one of the best corners, if not the best, to ever play the game,
Right.
making $300,000 a year because that's what he chose to do because of his love and what he wanted to do and not needing money, right?
Right.
But because as soon as he started having some success, recruiting and landing the kid that you or Florida State thought you had, he has to be
Mhm.
cheating.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, the moment that kid goes to Jackson State, I'm the first thing I'm thinking, go back to the minute I heard that day. I'm like, oh, this is good. And we weren't even looking, comparing any NIL or transfer portal. I'm
Right,
looking at the fact that that takes me right back to that college experience. And you talk about how you met your lovely wife, just celebrated your 22nd wedding anniversary at the
right,
college level, and the life-changing things that can happen. You'd like to still say, I'm still playing to get to that next level. I'm still playing this sport that I'm loving, and he's fantastic at it, Barry
right.
the lead. But to go there, and I'll tell you what, I'll be honest with you, when they were putting Dion's name up for the Florida State head coaching job just 3 years ago, I never discounted the fact that I thought he'd do a decent or a good job, but I was like, you want to grow into that a little bit. But you make
Right,
the point there
right.
that Dion not only grew into it, he's put together a staff and he's got a program going there that's making news, and for all the right reasons.
Yeah, and he's one. Listen. He was here in Texas, where I was in the DFW Metroplex area,
Yes.
and he won what 2 or 3 state titles at Trinity Christian. You know, he was the head coach of here. You
Yes.
know, he's coached youth football. I mean, he's always been around. He's always been involved with the kids. He's trying to do good things. And so I don't like when and Dion made a good point. Don't talk bad about me in public, but then try to call me on the phone to explain yourself.
Oh,
And that's
that's
and
right.
that's and that's the
Yes.
point that I made in the piece I did that Nick Saban needs to man up.
Yes.
It's a 5 minute video vlog with me basically saying like, as a man, you learn in life
Yes.
that it's choices, decisions, and consequences. I always talk about that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
so
do.
whatever decision I make, I need to face the consequences. So if I ever call you out, I need to be available for you to have me on live to ask me about why it was I called you out, and to prove it, right? I don't
Right.
want you don't say, hey, big game, why'd you say this? Hey, Ray, I'm gonna call you in a minute. But I blasted you on media and on
Yes.
radio where I know there's hundreds and thousands of listeners listening to me because of who I am, and I don't
I
give you a chance to defend yourself. And
and I
that's what
love
Nick Saban did.
And I love what Dion's response was to that, because Jimbo was pretty much making a good response, and Jimbo has the
Yeah,
experience, having been, on the staff there at LSU when they won the national championship
right.
on Nick Saban. But when he brings Dion in for some reason, but Dion does that drop back, I was like, oh yeah, and you don't that Nick Saban doesn't really want any piece of that, and.
Right.
And here's the thing about that. We were talking about this the other day. You could be a seventh, eighth, ninth. You could be the 10th tight end on the Alabama roster. And, you could be there because you're going to school. My neighbor across the street, 2 houses down, went to Alabama. He ended up being on a taxi squad, was drafted by the Miami Dolphins, never played in the NFL, but talks about with loving and endearness the education and the 4 years he spent at Alabama as a
Right.
student athlete.
Right.
So you're always going to have that too. But the thing I don't like, and I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but with the
It's all
name, image,
good.
and likeness that may be out there, thank you, my brother. Everyone out there may not know this, but for you to declare into the transfer portal, you're letting yourself, or you're putting prospective teams out there. And I don't think any of us are shallow enough to not believe that there's not supposed to be agreements in principle between agents and other schools,
Right.
right?
Right.
But when you put yourself into the portal, the spot you had at the school you're coming from is gone,
It
right?
is.
They're not required to hold that spot for
Nope.
you. It's not like you're just fishing out there to see if anybody wants you. You have to extricate yourself from that spot that you're in that scholarship or that program, and then hopefully you land on your feet,
Right.
talent, and you get that school. But so it really goes towards that I don't think any of us are silly enough to believe that when you're working 20 hours a day to maintain at the top level in these programs or anywhere in NCAA, that school school is maybe a little bit of a backseat, and that's only because you got so much work to do. It's 365, 7 days a week, 365 a year. But this seems to almost literally take away the student athlete concept altogether. And as right as it may be for these students to get paid or get compensated and be able to live, it's not like they should be going there thinking they're putting together a nest egg for the rest of their life.
Right.
Yeah. Go
And,
ahead,
and,
James.
and
You're
Ray,
feeling.
you made a very good point. Someone still got to talk to these kids to get them to understand and realize that chasing a few dollars, because like I said, it's only a handful of guys that's going to go get what the kids like to call the bag, right? Only so many
Yes.
guys are going to go get the bag. Some guys aren't going to get a whole lot. And the thing is, you leave your team and you're not sure what's ahead of you on the other side, or if anyone's even going to recruit you from that portal.
Right.
So you don't want to put yourself in the worst situation. I just believe it needs to be good advice given, and I pray and hope that all these people that's making these decisions are being advised right, because like you said, your mindset can't be, I'm going to college to play football and get rich.
Right. And the thing is, I kind of went away a little bit from NCAA basketball, and it was just because I came up in the time of the, Michigan and the Fab Five, or
Okay.
Fab Five, going back to UNC with Michael Jordan. But then when Bobby Hurley was at Duke and
Okay.
Christian Laettner, all this, you watch teams develop over years. And these days, everything's gotten to be so quick, so fast, instant satisfaction.
Hmm.
I know we're all looking forward to see what a player does that transfers. What Lincoln Riley's doing out there. Some of the players, maybe they didn't have the success at the program they're in, so now they're jumping to a new program. And I wish them all the best in the world. And as a football fan and a fan of college and all athletics, I am tuning in to see and wishing well. But the thing about it is, though, is that, like you're saying, that they need to, these students, hopefully they're getting that real solid advice, because they're jumping from school to school. And the thing is, you might jump and the grass may not be as green on the other side as you thought. And now you have lost that experience. And that's where you may start having those, you want to think you're going to continue having successes, but you start to have a little bit of failure here and there. And it starts to suddenly, maybe it makes them grow up a little better. They start making better decisions. And, by the time they're in college, they're already adults anyway, making those decisions. But you hope they're getting that solid advice, because you just don't want to see them make the mistakes that basically are going to last a lifetime.
Right. Exactly. I mean, I think you said it perfectly right there. Um, and like I said, to piggyback on what I said a little bit earlier,
Yes.
um, I struggled some in college financially, because here it was, I was on a full scholarship, yes, but I didn't have a whole lot to do a whole lot of other things. I don't look back one day and regret it. I
No.
mean, I think it made me better. It made me more hungry. It made me work even harder to achieve the goals that I wanted to achieve and be able to have the success I did, to be able to get drafted. Right.
Right.
Um, Instant gratification. That's one of the things I try to teach my son all the time. I say, son, anything worth having does not come quickly. Anything that's worth having, you're gonna have to put work into, and it's gonna have to develop. Like, you want to be a star quarterback. You're not gonna just walk on the field and start slinging the ball all over the place and do it well if you don't go practice doing it first. And
Wow.
that's just what these young people got to realize. Like, it's gonna take work, it's gonna take time,
Right.
and competition is good. Like, we've gotten away from good friendly competition. I wanted people to push me. I wanted to be a guy to push the people in front of me,
Yes.
because I wanted them to stay sharp and on their toes. And that's what we did so well when I
Wow.
was in Tampa.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I've always said it, my friend. When you can, I mean, we had that defense was flying all over the place, and I love the fact that we would bring in other players and mix them all in, and the defense would get better. You guys would work together as a
Yeah.
team. And I'll tell you what, you just hit on something, James. I didn't think about it. If you don't mind, I'm going to ask you: is
Hmm.
that now if you got these players now and they're still working, if you got a good coaching system, a good coaching staff, and you got your good players, and you got a good development program there. But now you all of a sudden, instead of, like you just said, you like to think about pushing. You want to think about that seventh string tight end working hard. You want to think about, Kyle Trask coming out of Texas, going to Florida, not even guaranteed a spot, basically in the top 4, pushing himself to the top. And I'm making
Hmm.
that example because now all of a sudden you might have instead of players thinking about the guy behind them and how he's getting pushed, now you might have the guy thinking, well, the guy behind me, he's probably going to jump into the portal and jump to another, and he probably is going to be offered, right? So
Right.
now instead of these teams, and maybe that's something that, Nick Saban's also worried about, because now instead of having, a seventh string tight end at Bama that could be a starter at 3/4 of the nation, now
Right.
he's gonna realize that he's gonna have to try. It's gonna be a lot harder to maintain that depth. And some would argue that one of the reasons why Alabama, besides the fact that they seem to find gods at quarterback day in and day out, or along the entire defense, running backs especially in that defense,
Yeah.
forget about it. But now you're starting to wonder if that's going to take a little tear at the fabric of teams developing and pushing each other from the bottom up, as opposed to now it's just who's going to bail and when.
Yeah. Well, Ray, I know one thing I know some of my coaching friends and I have talked about before is what made Alabama so unique was the depth that they had in
Mm,
almost every position.
yes.
And so when my number ones leave the field, and my twos, like you said, could go start at more than half of the schools in the country, and so can my threes, and I can
Yes.
have that solid rotation and never be tired and never miss a beat and get things done.
Yes.
Now, the likes of Texas A&M, the likes of Georgia, the likes of Florida are starting to take my twos and my threes.
Right.
I'm worried because most
Yes.
most products, Ray, if you think about it, you look at most college football games, most ones match up okay. I mean, these bigger conferences, the better conferences, right? You
Right.
get 5-star versus 5-star, but then if my 5-star is backed up by maybe a 2-star, but your
Right.
5-star backed up by another 5-star or 4-star,
Yes.
later in the game is when you're going to find a way to take advantage and dominate when I got to make more substitutions.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. Now that you're mentioning it, I get it. Your 5 stars may be able to spread out a little more over the country because they're getting offered to. They realize they can get. Like the basketball player in Miami, who's basically announced a couple of weeks back that if I don't get $400,000 in NIL, I'm going to fly. Suddenly he stays. But now you might have an issue where, well, these players now, they're thinking more about. Oh, I lost it, James. I had a question in there. I'm so sorry,
It's
but go
all
on. I
good.
cut you off.
No.
Well, let me ask you this though. You're talking about the NIL and the
Uh-huh.
financial part about it, also mixing in with the transfer portal. Now, all that's coming together now. What are you thinking about these? There's going to have to be disparity among the players on each team. Your left tackles, they're going to be making more than your second string right guards, or your wide receiver is going to be making more. Now, the guest I had on the show the other day says, well, that's just the way it's always been. Quarterbacks, receivers, running backs, they get all the love, or, big defensive linemen like
Hmm.
yourself, Mr. James Cannida, or a big linebacker. And the other players have to fall into place. Yeah, but that's one thing we always loved about the NCAA and competing at the college level is it was a fair playing ground. You still had your big,
Right.
your 5-star blue chips, and you still had your hustlers coming. You still had your Rudies there at Notre Dame.
Right.
But
Right.
now all of a sudden, if you start talking about differences in pay and start going along that way, that's where I really start to get worried about a wild, wild west type of situation there at the college level.
I agree with you, and it's funny because I read somewhere like down in Austin at the University of Texas, a company came in and gave the entire starting offensive line the exact same amount
Okay.
of deal, right? So
Right.
now all those guys are going in, and it's something crazy. It's not $1 million crazy, but I know if I'm a college athlete to wear this T-shirt and do a couple photo shoots to be making this while I go play football and getting a free education, it would be
Yes.
amazing. So you'll get some companies and some people will do that. Some are gonna give money to everybody. Some players will kick back some of their NIL money to their other teammates so that they do
Yeah.
have something.
Right.
Um, like I said, at the end of the day, you know why the name image likeness deal came about. It was established, and it goes back to the O'Bannon rules of like all the money made in college basketball, or in college sports in general. No revenue being shared with players. So now they come up with something to be like, well, and I honestly think, Ray, when they came up with this, like, well, you know what, just go find your own deals, your own endorsements. You can get paid, and you just, you get what you can. I honestly don't think that when they came up with the solution that these young players are going to be as crafty as they were as far as selling
Yeah.
themselves, reinventing themselves, and getting the money that they could get. And
Right.
so now it's like, oh, dang, they they know how to get paid. They know how to use the social media.
Right.
What have we done? And I think that's kind of what it was. I said the NCAA could have had a grip and a handle on this a long
Yes.
time ago when different people proposed different things when it came down to like pooling money, paying it out, maybe difference by Power Five to smaller conferences, but
Right.
they didn't do it, and now it's biting them in the butt.
And what do you think about when you hear about college presidents in specific conferences that actually start to kind of float the ideas out there that maybe we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna break off. We're gonna go ahead and do our own conference things that we're already setting our own schedules up. We'll still play teams, like a Notre Dame as an independent. We'll still
Hmm.
play teams in other conferences, but these colleges, university presidents, some of these guys, some of these presidents, men and women, I just realized that this is too much mayhem going on here, and this may tug at the very fabric of the game, and we're going to protect ourselves. I know they're just kind of saying it now, but do you think that down the road there could be anything behind that, or is that just something they're just trying to? It's a cry for help, and they're putting it out there.
Now you know what's the old saying: when there's smoke, there's fire.
Yes.
And hey, this smoke is coming up real fast, so I think
Yes.
it's gonna catch fire soon. I don't want it to. I don't want it to change. I don't want the dynamic of football to change. I still want to be able to see certain conferences play each other. I still
Yes.
like to see those cross conference games take
Right.
place.
Yes.
But at the same time, um, it is about money. And the thing is, the Power Five could really shut other people out and operate within themselves and really monopolize the TV deals and everything else. I don't want to see it happen. It needs to be a governing body in there, and that's what the NCAA is supposed to be. But when you
Yes.
start hearing like the Bowl Championship Series saying that we could break off and start our own thing,
Mm.
what's going to stop? What's going to stop presidents from universities and athletic directors from jumping ship if they realize the financial gain is going to be bigger for their institution? The kids are still going to be able to play football. They're still going to be able to make money off of that sport. And we say football because we know in most of these schools, football is the biggest money maker. In some
Right.
schools, it's a little bit different. And that
Yeah.
could be basketball in some instances. We understand that. So if anybody watching and hearing this keeps beating football over the head, we know most of these schools in the country, especially down in Florida and the South and Texas where I am, football is the moneymaker. And
Yes, sir.
that's what's supporting everything else on all these campuses and helping everything else operate. And so whatever's going to get these universities and institutions the most money, that's where it's going to go. So that's why I said where there's smoke, Ray, there's
Right.
fire.
Well, and by the way, again, I'm going to say it again. You had the chop shop on tonight, so I can't. I appreciate you double dutying with me tonight. I hope you can stick around for a few more. Wanted to chop it up with you a little bit more about
I
some other stuff.
got you, man.
Before I lock it out of here on name, image, and likeness, I just want to say that we can just hope that as they put the structures into place, as they maybe start to get start to wrangle this a little bit, start to get a feel for what's going on here,
Hmm.
that they're going to put in some things that I've hoped for all along. One is to not to go the other direction, and even though now you're requiring these students that are getting 1.2 million a year in NIL because they're tops and whatever, that are they're in the ice tub at 4:30 in the morning so they can go out to lift it before practice, and then they
Right,
go to class to rush back to practice. They're back in the hot or the cold tub after getting back. Before all that, I hope we're looking at putting things into place like a very good health system for these players, for some of the long-term injuries that you may have, players may suffer, some of the
right,
things that may happen for some of the players or some of the students that may fall through the cracks because they didn't get that good advice that we're really hoping they do, that you're hoping, it can't just become a charity thing, obviously. I mean, you still want to be, but for the prestige of the institution or the universities themselves, I would hope that when all this, because the NCAA, what I kind of figured is the NCAA was like, look, we can't fight this. The Supreme Court said that these players need to get paid. So just let them do their thing. Let's see where it goes.
right,
And we've seen it kind of start to go off the track. So we want to see it get reined back in and get a little semblance of straightness there, if you will. But my thing is that you got the television deals going to the universities and the conferences. You got the players now getting their NIL endorsements and such. And I'm not trying to talk or put legalized gambling. into college football, but there's going to be a lot of revenue. There's a lot of cash coming in on that now,
Oh yeah.
especially. So
Oh yeah.
where's that money going, James? Who do you think is going to be making all that? Is it just going to come from the networks and rain down to the institutions, or
I
is
don't.
that why? Go ahead.
I wonder if it's gonna do like the. I think the league now has partnerships with different ones like we talked about before,
Yes.
and surely college football is gonna be next, or college sports.
Right.
Where the money goes, how it's distributed, I don't know. It's it's so hard to trace and track what's going on from that aspect and
Right.
how
And
they're gonna
I didn't
do it.
I didn't think we'd have an answer, you and me, tonight, because we'll get
Yeah,
together and we'll talk on this. But I just,
right.
that's one of those things where, because I didn't get on a soapbox last season, but, in 2003, the Las Vegas Tourism Committee, Las Vegas Tourism Industry, or the tourism, whatever, they wanted to run a 30-second spot in a Super Bowl that year. It wasn't in Vegas, but it was going to be.
Right.
And, they wanted to run a 30-second spot. And Roger Goodell said, nope, no way. It's not associated with us. We don't associate with the legalized gambling of any sort. Bye bye. And it was different back then because there was so many states now coming along with legalized gambling. But
Right.
now in 2021, all of a sudden it's FanDuel, it's Caesars, it's MGM, it's all of these sponsorships. And like you said, I could imagine coming back next, maybe even as early as this next season. FanDuel, the official sports book of the SEC, or
Mm.
Caesar's Grand, the
Yeah.
official, you know, and because I mean, we've accepted gambling legalized. It's no longer Danny the bookie on the corner taking, side bets with his
Right.
pencil and a little pad. And I don't have a problem with it. But as long and an optimist would say, but because now the players in college are getting those NIL endorsement deals, it's going to make them even more untouchable. And I hate to question the integrity, James, because you know, as a college athlete, and then of course an NFL player yourself, I'm not trying to take a shot here. But for those players like you and I were talking about a little while ago that maybe aren't making as much as the left tackle, or they're not making the money they thought they were going to make when they jumped into the portal and they left their other school, maybe those players now are going to maybe be in a situation where they may be more approachable by a
Oh
source. I hate to say it, but now,
man.
but if you don't fill that vacuum, you're going to at least create that situation that could be taken advantage of, no?
Right. No, I mean you have a good point, Ray, and you can never underestimate what I mean the powers within that could happen. And when people get desperate, they'll do desperate things. And there's
Hmm.
people out there that know that, and they'll take advantage and pry on that person and do that.
Yes.
And you just gotta hope that the integrity standpoint that you talked about kicks in, and they don't succumb to those pressures to doing something that would hurt their integrity and the integrity of the game. But I mean, you make a good point. You can never put anything past someone because there's people out there like that in this world, and they'll do what they can to make a buck.
Yeah, and here we kept our I say we kept them protected because there's just some predatory football programs in this country that maybe the player's health wasn't the first and foremost on that coach or that whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But we kept them in a bubble as far as you're in the NCAA. You don't have an agent. You don't have to worry about endorsements or selling yourself. That's gonna come. You might find a Finsky drop beneath the pillow for waxing the boss's car. I mean, just saying. But that
Right,
now all of a sudden now you're putting on these kids. Not only are they trying to get that college education, continuing to play in their sport, but now they're thinking about having to be the breadwinner for the family, or they got somebody or several people depending on them. Like my family would be. They'd be depending on me.
right,
Not predator, not pushing, pressuring me, but so you're going to make decisions, and you just want to again. I think basically, James, with the NIL for tonight, and again, I appreciate you talking to me on this. It works back to we just got to make sure that these student athletes are getting that good advice to realize don't just make the first decision. Sometimes your first instincts may be the right one, but think it through and make
right.
sure it's right for you because that grass is not always going to be as green on the other side as you thought.
Exactly. Yeah. Do what's right. Don't make any hasty decisions, and ask yourself why. Ask yourself what the benefits are from it. How is it going to make you better? Or one thing I learned a long time ago was if I want something, give myself a time limit to get it.
Yes.
and if I don't think about it within that time frame, that means I
Hmm.
never really needed it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going through that right now. I'm doing the whole with cleaning, going through all my stuff because I got so much stuff, and
Right.
like George Carlin talking about stuff, but and I've like oh, this shirt I'm gonna want to. I haven't worn it in 6 years. It's taking up space. Come on, Ray, get over that. So
Right.
I'm having to make those decisions too. You know, Let me jump off the NIL for a second because I have a feeling you and I are going to mix it up a lot more, especially as we start to learn a little more about this.
Yeah, as soon as we get closer to college football, more stuff is going to
Yes.
come out. It
Well,
is.
the portal nowadays, it's funny because I get, we all get our pops on our phones,
Hmm.
and I know you are, and I do, and I'm getting the pop. And it used to be, like tonight, I got the pop that said the Rays beat the Marlins 4-0 over here at Tropicana Field, or I'll see the pop that says this and that. And now, it's slowed down a little in the last, week or so, but for a couple of weeks there, through May, basically early April, I was getting 5 to 10 pops a day about student college football players that were jumping into the portal, and
Right.
and it is news, and you got to imagine, we want to hear it because it has fundamental, it makes a difference with the teams we follow and the conferences we follow. And we're happy because we know that the dedication and the hustle and the work that goes into being a college athlete and a football player at a
Right.
huge divisional school. But um, to get off the NIL a little bit, I want to ask you if I can, because tonight at 10 o'clock on HBO is Real Sports with Brian Gumbel. I love
Okay.
that show. Of course, I'm talking about Deshaun Watson, and they're going to have some interviews on there, and they're pushing that. And I don't want to get into that too deep on a Tuesday with you because we just jumped off of the other thing, and we got kind of deep on that, my friend. But your best guess now, even if they're just 22, the grand jury doesn't indict, but there's still 22 civil suits out there. If you had to take a guess right now, just a fleeting guess off the cuff, what do you think Deshaun's looking at as far as a possible suspension and or time away from the game?
Initially, I said 2 to 4 games, but
Right,
then to understand that when the NFL investigation went down, not that he didn't just have 1 day or 2 days. He had 3 days of interrogations that he had to go through with NFL investigation about what was happening. When
right.
Ben Roethlisberger had a situation years ago, I
Hmm.
think it ended up being like a 2 game suspension. Um, I still and people can say what they want. I don't know, for some reason I just feel like the whole thing was a witch hunt. But we
Okay.
know that some of the charges have been dropped. Some civil suits are still going on.
Right.
The NFL is going to suspend Deshaun Watson for a certain amount of games. That's going to happen. It doesn't matter if those charges are dropped, but because of all the stuff that went into it, there's going to be some sort of punishment. And I still believe that a minimum of 2, I'm going
Right.
to say a maximum of 6 is what I believe he's going to get.
Okay. Yeah, and I liked you mentioned the Ben Roethlisberger, and I liked I forget on what outlet I was reading today or maybe yesterday, but they made that same comparison to with the accusations with Ben and the bathroom stall and what was going on 100 years ago. But at that time when they put that, I think it was a 4 game suspension. I think Ben might
Hmm.
have served back then, but I totally agree that it was worded as such that even though there were no actual official charges as an NFL player, you're held, and I'm paraphrasing, held to a higher standard. We
Right.
believe that some action needs to be taken and counseled to eliminate this situation and to assist the player. Because I don't think we need to. I think I'd be lying if I told you I can't wait to see Deshaun. I hated having to watch him sit in Houston. The cat's
Right.
just a phenomenal player. I
Right.
believe he has to get his affairs in order, and I know that everything has to happen in the proper sequence of things.
Hmm.
But I just want to make sure that if there is any issues, if the kid did have some situational issues or whatever, that he gets that help that he needs as well. Because at the end of the day, that's really the most important thing is to make sure everybody's right, and then
Hmm.
get it back on the gridiron. I sound like a deranged football fan, but I mean, I want to see that cat
No,
play.
but
So
I mean, I think that's a fair assessment from everybody, right? Like, even if Deshaun Watson is not your favorite quarterback, he's a quarterback that's exciting to watch, right?
right,
You want to see what he can do on the field. He's been going for a while, so that brings a little bit more anticipation. Is he going to be able to step back onto the field? Is he going to be missing something? Does he have the pieces in place with Amari Cooper as his number 1 target now in
yes,
Cleveland? They gave him a guaranteed contract. Is he worth the money? It's so many different narratives that make you want to see what he's going to
yes,
be able to do, right? But
right,
at the same time, as a player, when you sign that contract, there's a clause in there about conduct detrimental to the team or the
Yes.
league. So anything that you decide to do that could be frowned upon, there's going to be
Right.
some consequences for it, man.
I tell you what, and he's got a hell of a running game now in Cleveland. And I'm telling you what, the AFC, you better
Yes.
be watching out with you give Deshaun a running game with that offensive line and get that defense rolling.
Hmm.
And now you put into the fact that a year and a half off, the legs are going to be so fresh. He's still got a
Yeah.
phenomenal arm, and bury the lead. The guy's been able to read defenses like a large print, easy to read child's book since he was in high school.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. Let me ask you this, James. Jumping over to, I mentioned Kyle Trask in the opening, and
Yeah.
I know why. Why does Clyde Christensen feel the need a couple of weeks back to basically announce to the world that Trask is going to get another redshirt year? Did you feel, as a player yourself, as a coach, as someone who understands the sport, that you're not saying that there was a nefarious reason that Coach Christensen was trying to do anything secretive, but
Right.
did you kind of question, why do you even? I want Kyle Trask showing up thinking he's going to take Tom Brady's job.
But see, and that's we just talked about the competition aspect, right? Right.
Right.
I want to be able to call, okay, if I go in and I know that Tom Brady's our number one quarterback. We know that. I know that. I'm not dumb as if I'm Kyle Trask. But if you got to give me hope and belief that I'm battling with Blaine Gabbert for that number
Right.
two spot for a chance to be that guy. If you're telling me there's no chance of me really even being that number two, what's motivating me to come to work every day?
Right. And the fans, here's the thing, I could see a little bit, I could see where Coach Christensen, just being a good guy, the good Christian person that he is, and the coach, he's been around for so long, and
And I
coach,
love Clyde to death. I mean,
Clyde Christensen, don't you? I
Clyde
mean,
Clyde was with me in two different locations in Tampa and
yes,
in Indianapolis. So and when I got a chance to see him at Rondé Barber's Ring of Honor ceremony, he gave me a big old hug and told me he was proud of me for moving on and still being involved in the game of football, coaching and
yes.
stuff like that. And he's a great person and a
I love
great
Clyde
man.
Christensen.
But
Yes.
there's got to be a method to how you let some news out, and that's the only
Yes.
thing I question about that from the competition standpoint. Right, I want my quarterback coming to work every day thinking, "Hey, something go down, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna compete like I'm ready to
Yes.
go." But if you tell me, "Hey, well, we just gonna really give you that time to learn and understand everything, and there's no real pressure on you," I'm a second round draft pick. The minute that Tom Brady is out of here,
Yes,
all
sir.
the pressure's on me, right? Like I
Right.
have to perform. If I'm the guy, we're gonna have a chance to be the guy.
Yes.
So
I'll tell you what, and here's the thing: there's starting to be some people are like, was it a wasted draft pick? Why, And before Tom announces he's coming back for this third season as a Buccaneer, I was ready to see. Of course, I think Blaine Gabbert would have gotten a lot bigger of a contract if he'd have been, your incumbent number one. But I was still wanting to see if Trask wouldn't give him a run for his money and maybe take the reins on that, to take
yeah,
it over this season. Um, and again, it's just, I think that I almost felt like Coach Christensen was just kind of like saying, well, Blaine's got 72 years in this system. He knows the terminology, he knows the language, and I get all that. But yeah, I think he was worried that when the season starts, if Trask is still sitting in number three, not dressing on game day because Blaine's running the second string and he wins it out fairly, that the whispers would have gotten a lot louder. Like, oh, Kyle's not the guy. Kyle's not the
yeah.
guy. And
I
he probably
think
doesn't. Go ahead.
that's a great point, right? You make a lot of sense when you say that, but I'm not gonna lie to you. When Brady said that he was retiring, I was like, okay, what veteran quarterback are we bringing in? Are
I
we gonna
know,
go get Deshaun Watson? Are we gonna
brother.
look at Baker Mayfield? Right? I said a
Yes.
lot. I said a lot of crazy things. I even brought up the name Mitchell Trubisky.
I did
Um,
too. I was like, you're looking at Mitch or even Baker Mayfield. Of course, Baker,
yeah,
they didn't have Deshaun in Cleveland yet.
right,
That's the reason I was standing right here live that Sunday doing a cup of Ray because I'm at the house, I'm in the pool, and all of a sudden I hear, okay, it's down to three teams. Deshaun Watson sweepstakes. It's either possibly Carolina, it's possibly New Orleans or Atlanta. I'm sorry,
right,
and the Buccaneers were an 11th hour. Of course, I just think that was probably this. You feel like you have this team
right.
that was like, just 2 years removed and ready for another run. You got a lot of pieces in place. I went live, and so I was live when the news broke on Instagram that Tom was coming back. So it's phenomenal. But I just don't. I don't want to see any player be told. don't tell them that they shouldn't come in and be ready. Come in here. I want next man up mentality. And you know what? I want you waking up in the morning thinking you could take that job from Tom Brady, because Tom
Yes.
Brady, when he went to the New England Patriots in 2000, he 100% knew he could take that job from Drew Bledsoe. And lo and
Right.
behold, he actually
And
did,
it
didn't he?
happened, right? And then
Yes.
competition ensued, and half the team was split on what quarterback they wanted to follow. And
Oof.
look, the rest is history.
History, my friend. So what else we got here? You know, again, go ahead. I'm gonna get you out of here because I can't thank you enough. We're gonna do this again real soon. This was so impromptu. I just wanted to, let me go ahead and work it back before I get you out of here, because you mentioned it. You are a teacher and educator. You just finished your school year up. The summer started. That's good stuff to hear. But when you heard the news tonight, you said your stomach got in knots, and you just happened to do a show and you guys talked about it. So I'm going to go ahead and say that it'll be on my Facebook page. But if you haven't checked out the Chop Shop yet tonight with Big Game James Canada, do that, because you're probably going to work it back to a little bit what we're talking about tonight. But what
Yeah.
were some of your initial feelings on that as you got into that, talking about it tonight on the Chop Shop?
Like I said, it made me feel. I just felt sick and I felt lost because, like I said, not only as a parent but as an educator, when you stop to
Yeah.
think like what your goal is when you go into work every day and
Right.
what you're hoping to accomplish, and you go to work for one reason and something else tragic happens, and so some of those teachers may question why that one coworker of theirs died and they didn't. Um, why those kids had to be there, why it had to happen the way it did. I mean, there's so
Yes.
many times, so many different things that go on that'll make you question life itself. And and
Right.
I and I think that's what went in my head. Like, am I ever gonna be in a situation like this? Yeah,
Yes.
you do drills and you pray that it never happens. But then when you see it happen somewhere else, it makes you realize how real that situation could be. And like I said, I just wanted to offer my blessing starting the show out. And
Yes.
then, like I said, if there was anything I could do to take people's mind off of it just for a little while, just for
Right.
little bit of peace in their day, that's what I was aiming to do, man. And
Yes, sir.
I had a chance to make fun of Jay Stoggs a lot tonight, and get a few laughs in, and just know that I'm blessed to be
Yes.
able to talk to those guys, and I'm blessed to be able to sit here and talk to you right now as well.
Brother, we're blessed to be able to watch you guys talk, and I'm blessed to have you as a guest. But I got to tell you, Jay Stoggs, he's been giving you some grief that the Buccaneers are going out there and opening the season in Dallas, hasn't he?
Man, we're
I know
we're
he has.
we're we're working on being at that contest, and
Yes.
if the Cowboys beat the Buccaneers, I'm gonna have to wear Cowboys apparel.
Oh no,
Is and
James,
Yeah, I
you
know,
didn't do
but
that.
but hey,
It
but
ain't
I
gonna
got
happen.
I
I'm just
got I
kidding.
got I got mad faith in my team that we're
I'll
gonna
tell you
handle our
what.
business and do what we need to do on the road. And
Yes.
we didn't really talk a lot of schedule, but the first five, there's 5 games on that schedule. That it's not easy, right? Like
No.
the schedule gods were evil and cruel to us when the
Yes.
schedule came out
And
this
you
year.
put that first. I was kind of hoping for the Thanksgiving Day game. I don't know why, but I was like, oh, it'd be great to see the Bucks play there on Thanksgiving, because we
Yeah,
knew they were going to be at Dallas. But man, you put them on week one,
week
because I
one.
was week one, and I was going into 2021. Everybody's like, oh, we got this. I said, hold on a minute. Let me tell you something. Dan Quinn built that Legion of Boom out there in Seattle. He's
Yeah,
now the defensive coordinator there in Dallas. You're going to give McCarthy a chance, and you got Dak coming back. We didn't know how he was going to respond after the ankle, but now you're doing it again, and then now it's in their house. I
right.
I still think that the Bucs are going to take care of their business, but you're going to get a team there in Dallas. They're going to be very, very motivated, and they're going to be very ready for that game. It's going to you talk about the defenses, the offense going against
Yeah.
each other, all the other things. Probably the marquee matchup, not just for Bucs or Cowboy fans, but for a lot of National Football League fans, that Week One
Oh, yeah,
contest.
that's got to be the game of week one. I could care less about the Chiefs and the Bills or anything else,
Ah,
man. That's that right there, man. And it's a game that we need. I say we need to win, but I did a short on Big Game Sports Buzz. I did a short story on 5 key games that the Buccaneers need to win, and it was the Dallas game, the
right,
Saints game,
right.
Green Bay, uh,
Oof.
just Kansas City to see how they are,
Yes.
and the Rams game. I mean, it's crazy, man. Just what we're matched up against in some of those early games in the
Yes.
first 5 weeks, it's like, whoa, okay.
And you sprinkle in a little Ravens, you put in, a Saints team that somehow Dennis Allen always gets that defense, and I still think Jameis is going to come back strong this
And they
year.
just signed Jarvis Landry.
Oh, and, oh my God! And they got Mike Thomas, and they draft Olave out of Ohio State. I'm like, so you talk of even the off games, which maybe a couple of months ago may have been an off game, but now you're like, this is now the only couple of upsides. You got the bye week after the week 10 there out in Germany versus Seattle, so that's a nice little
Right,
bit later in the season.
right.
You got 3 home games in a row. You play a couple on the road in a row, but so there's some home cooking there that kind of like you look at it and you go, but you're right. The schedule gods, they were tough on the Buccaneers in 2022. They've got their plate full.
But Ray, you know what? If we're gonna be a Super Bowl team, we've gotta show that
Yes, sir.
it's it's one small bump in the road and we can
Yes.
overcome anything. And I said it on there and I say it all the time. Very rarely are you gonna find a 72 Dolphins team that's gonna go undefeated and win
Oof.
it all. It
Yes.
doesn't happen. It's the NFL. There's parity. Teams match up well. Like we for the last 2 years we couldn't do anything with the Saints. They had our number,
Right.
right? Pretty much
Yes.
until the playoffs came around in that Super Bowl run and we handled business. It's still gonna be a tough matchup this year. I just believe that's one of those teams that matches up well against us, if no one else.
Yes.
And it's going to make for the division being a little bit better because I think once you take us and the Saints out of it, Atlanta's still rebuilding and Carolina still uh, doesn't have the depth that they need. So, and they're rebuilding as well. So, you know,
Boy, I tell you, if McCaffrey though in Carolina, and you got Devonta Freeman now running back, backing him up there in
yeah,
Carolina, and they got the big debt tackle they just drafted, the left tackle. All of a sudden, you're starting to see
icky, yeah,
he was the best to me. He was the offensive lineman I can't wait to see, and it just so happens
right.
to be we're going to see him twice a year because he's in the NFC South. Man, so let me think of real quick. Tom Brady. 37.5 million going to Fox. Let's keep them short because I want to get you out of here, James Cannida. Thanks again for coming in here. What were your
Mhm.
thoughts when you heard that they doubled Aikman's salary and they've promised Tom when he does retire, he's going out there? He's got a lot of work to do. Did you kind of at first think where'd that come from, or did you think, well, I can see it?
I thought I could see it, and I thought that why announce that to the world now if he has at least one more year left to play,
Right.
right? Like,
Yes.
why did that need to be news? I'm not surprised by it. I mean,
Right.
he's intelligent, he can talk, he knows the game.
He breaks the film down.
He'll be able to analyze it and break it down and deliver
Yes.
it to fans, I believe. Unlike Drew Brees not being the most desirable to listen to, as from what I
Right.
heard from a lot of people. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But wasn't surprised by it, but the timing of it coming out, because the first thing you said was, well, how much is he gonna people said was how much is he gonna focus on the season if he knows that he has TV money waiting on him? I was
You're
like,
right.
Tom Brady already had all kind of other money waiting
Oh
on him.
yeah, he's
He
already
came
got it.
back to do this because he's dedicated. And I don't believe Brady does anything
No.
without putting his best effort into it. So he's gonna give it all he has to do what he can to help this team win another Super Bowl. But
Right.
man, that's a whole lot of reasons to go. You know what? I can go ahead and hang it up for real this year.
Let me you talked about Rondé Barber, and you were able to come here for his ceremony, and you being good friends with Rondé. And I posed this the other day. We're so fortunate. We've had Rondé every year in the preseason covering the Bucs games, broadcasting them. And I got to imagine it just because Rondé's got a lot of other stuff going on and he's doing his thing that maybe he hasn't followed up. Because if that cat wants to be in the booth, I need to see some more Rondé Barber. You've seen him call the games. I think you'd agree. He's a pretty solid analyst.
Man, he does a damn good job. And it's
Yes.
just it's just the way that it works with networks, man. They have certain people that in faces and voices and names that they're going to go with as going to carry majority of their weight, and then they'll
Right.
give other people just scraps and leftovers, and not a whole lot you can do for it. I mean, you can complain and request or want to see people, but at the end of the day, we're still going to watch the game with whoever they have calling it.
Yeah, even if it's what was it they were saying the most terrible thing was, I don't know, when they were going back to oh gosh, I'm drawing a blank, the tight end from Dallas, Witten. And
Oh,
they're like they're giving him a run. And I get it, some
oh
guys
man,
maybe rub people wrong, but at the end of the day, I'm kind of watching the game. You can show me, you can give me the all
yeah,
22 and I'll just watch that, the John Maddens and the stuff. These are all,
right.
legendary. But
Right, man. I had so many, and I didn't really think that much of it because I watch football, I like football, but I had even Dallas Cowboy fans were like ripping Jason Witten
Jason Witten.
apart when he was like doing Monday Night Football. I was like, let me go pay attention. I was like, okay, I see what
Yeah.
you mean, but at the same time, it didn't make me want to stop watching,
No,
the
it
game
didn't.
itself. But it was a little rough
It was a little
in
rough.
some patches. Yeah.
I kind of like, you know what? We're gonna carry this again because it's getting a little late. You're on your summer vay already. I'm not. So, and I'm gonna be
Okay.
blessed. I got my wife and my oldest is going to Cincinnati to do an internship with
Oh, okay.
computer animation this summer in Cincinnati. So I got the other two young ones this weekend. So I'm just gonna give them a whole lot of Bucks report and get them all fed up and ready for football season. But James, do me a favor before we
Yeah.
get out of here tonight. Tell everyone out here where they can find Big Game Sports Buzz, James Cannida, Chop Shop, everything you got going on, my friend.
Man, it's Big Game James and is the name, and at JCan97 or at BG Sports Buzz on Twitter. The channel on YouTube is Big Game Sports Buzz. The Facebook
Yes.
page is, hey, you could guys, if you're Bucks fans, link up with me on my James Can, my personal page, but also Big Game Sports Buzz page. And we got a couple other things getting ready to come out and about to really work some things and try to make this thing a little bit bigger than what it is, but I appreciate all the support. I've been getting a lot of that from Buccaneer fans. I said that
Yes.
they like watching me play back in the day. So I want to thank all of you guys for coming and following and subscribing to the channel. And I just need 300 more people to hit 1,000. So y'all make sure y'all keep hitting up that YouTube page and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, man, and come interact with Jay Stoggs and I. And all we do
Yes.
is talk crazy and talk sports, man.
All we do is win, baby. James, thank you so much. And I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna be crying from the tops of the hilltops to get that 300 for you so we get that milestone. But thanks for coming in here tonight. I was on the fence, but I had to talk, and I'm like, and then when you said, "Hey, I just finished Chop Shop, I'm kind of doing some stuff," and I'm like, "You wouldn't want to," and of course you said yes. Always so approachable. It comes through in everything you do. I
I
see you, and
appreciate
I
it.
appreciate you, James Canada.
Appreciate it, Ray, man. You have a good night, man. Let's talk again soon.
Soon, brother. Have a
All right.
great evening,
All
James.
right.
Take
Thank you.
care.
You
Enjoy
too.
that vacation.
Appreciate it.
Take care. James Canada again, Big Game Sports Buzz, Chop Shop, loving it. You got to check it out. You're not only, he comes on here and makes me look like I know what I'm talking about, which that's hard enough as it is, but he's locking it down. Love it. It's great when you can get the content and you're talking sports and you're getting the knowledge, but you're getting it and you're laughing and you're enjoying it because it's entertaining. And that's what I love about James Canada. That's what I love about what he's got going on. Let me get some of these comments in here again. I'm sorry we didn't get back to it, but we got kind of into it tonight. Eric Hartnett says, "Hi, Bucks fans. Sad, sad. Yes, sad day, Eric. I see that next comment. Sad day. Our thoughts and prayers again out to all the people that are affected. And don't forget, not to link two and two together, but the obvious link is there. May is Mental Health Awareness Month. Listen to each other. Okay. I said this the other day. It's not always about this is me, hear me roar. But if sports is that common ground that we can all kind of meet up on, but oh, you're there, I'm here, you're there. Let's meet up in the middle. Let's just hear each other. And that's why I always end these things with everyone needs to know someone cares today. Why don't you be the one to let them know? Let's hear each other and let's be there. And maybe we don't have people doing desperate things that are just unspeakable and unforgivable, but feeling like they're not being heard and having to do things so over the top. That's all I'm going to say on that. But again, our thoughts and prayers out to the family, all the families, friends, all the people that are touched by any of these tragedies all over our entire United States of America or even in the world. Eric Hartnett says prayers for the people of lost, definitely. Oh, Abraham George Vattencherry is in here. Good night, Ray. Good night, Abraham. I appreciate you being in here. Eric Hartnett says very sad day, school shooting. Wish people stop madness, stop hurting people, ban guns. Yeah, I'm not going to get into a Second Amendment argument tonight, but what I'm saying is that I have said for a long time, not exactly sure why I need an AK-47 to hunt. I mean, unless you're hunting deer that are also armed coming back at you, but that's beside the point. But, the thing is, let's go to the root of it. Let's go to the mental health aspect of it. Let's make sure we get that fixed. There's other things protected under our constitutional rights, and I'm not going to go there with you. People know how I feel about this. I don't own a gun, don't have a gun in my house. I can announce that right now, and it's not because I'm anti-gun. I just choose not to have one, but I got a bat, and I'll beat the hell out of you if you come near me or my family. Christopher Cole says, big game, James in the house. Yes, he was. Thanks again for joining me tonight, James. Eric Hartness says, yep. Eric Hartness says, James, what's your thought on shooting? Of course, we heard James talk about it. Not only a coach, but an educator himself working in school, and he does it so proudly. So that's why I definitely wanted to talk with James tonight about that. Tim Haynes says, good evening, Tim. Thanks for coming in here. Eric Hartnett says, hi, Eric. David Turnier comes in here and says, couldn't imagine what the victims' families are going through. The cowards in office need to stand up and do something and not brush this off and just be numb to it. And I know what you're talking about, David. You're talking about with the mental health. Don't push it to the back burner. Don't just take it, we're going to require a 7-day check if the person. No, we're talking about let's hear each other. Let's get the help we need. And then the world's not a perfect place. It's not. And there's going to be things. There's terrible things. I saw a squirrel get hit by a car today. Not comparing that to the terrible shooting that happened out in Texas, but that's a terrible thing. There's just things that we can't control. But there are situations that we can make a little easier to accept or possibly be there for each other, not to get to the extreme like this. And that's to hear each other and make sure we put our focus on making mental health awareness something we're all aware of here in the month of May. Ben Cornett in here. I need Ray and James to do a show at Raymond James Stadium. Oh my God. It does make sense, Ben. You're so right. Try to get you to come on. That was last night, Ben. Ray and James at Raymond James. Wait, am I right or am I right? You are right, Ben. I love it. Comment of the night, brother. Harry Berg, all student athletes should be treated equal. Yes. Have Harry the Greek up in here. I had Harry over here tonight. Would have had him come on if I had another microphone. Ben Cornett says, I have marked October 8th on my college football schedule. That game will be crazy. Yeah, that's Texas A&M versus University of Alabama. And that was going to be a damn good game, regardless of this side narrative, right? But now you got, and by talking about side narrative, all my friends and family, all my friends, Bucs Report followers or Cup of Ray listeners that are out here in the Seminole, Pinellas County area, West Central Florida, brand new restaurant over here, Osteria Brico, and it's an authentic Italian restaurant open just over across the way. Still a crowd of people out there on the sidewalk. Look at them dressed in suits and ties, having a little vino on a Tuesday night. But I've been sitting here while I've been talking to you. I could smell the coal fire for the last hour. I could smell the authentic Italian. It smells like Southern Italian, but I could smell it. And I told the people there at Osteria Brico that I was going to do a little shout out to them. Now I'm going to go over and see if I can get me some breadsticks. Probably a little too late for tonight, but I'll work on it for tomorrow. Al McTavish in the house. Of course, DJ Mad Mac locking it down with the Lightning watch parties. Lightning sweep the Panthers 4 games. So wait for the next series. But if you're not locking it down at Ferg's Barn Grill for the Lightning game day watch parties, you're missing it. Alan says, Captain Ray, I still have your winning prize in the freezer at my studio. I'm glad it's in the studio. Alan says, you are at TJE, wrong studio. Oh, wait. Yeah, no, I am, Alan. Christopher Cole says, I wonder if they're giving women in college sports the same as the men. That's another thing for another day, Christopher, because just because maybe football or basketball or whatever may be your largest revenue, and I'm not talking about Title IX, I'm talking about the fact that if all this money is going to be rolling in, be it from legalized gambling sponsorships and television revenues and the NIL is taking care of the players, I want to make sure that that money is being spread equally across all of our athletics. Because let me tell you something. You may have a college athlete, a track and field runner, a skeet shooter. Tabitha, thank you so much. You're the best. Thank you. Tabitha here. Appreciate you. And you come into Irish 31, you tell Tabitha you saw it here on Bucs Report. And she's, you too, Tabitha. Thank you. She's the greatest, Tabitha. I appreciate her. Christopher says, I wonder if they're giving women college sports. Yeah, I wonder myself too, Christopher Cole. Christopher Cole also says they just can't throw millions of dollars at college kids because they're not ready for that. Yes, they need to get paid, but it should be equal across the board. Christopher, that actually just moved into the number one comment of the month. Maybe Ben's in front just by a snare because he put together Ray and James and that Raymond James. I love it. Christopher says Trask will give Gabbard all he can take. And I'm glad you said that at number 2 spot, because now we're kind of seeing some of that narrative, Bucs Report or Buccaneers.com or, some of your local news outlets. We're hearing how good Dick Trask is looking at the OTAs. We're hearing Cam Brate talk about how Trask has got this offense, how he's learning and just has to get better every day. I still think that Trask should be given. And I hope that Byron Leftwich and head coach Todd Bowles, is going to give this kid a chance to come in here. I still think that this offense is intricate, and I think the experience that Blaine Gabbert brings to the table cannot be matched. I always tell you, I think in 2019, he might have taken his job from Jameis by the 9th or 10th week had Jameis been struggling with the interceptions. But remember, he broke the collarbone in the preseason against the Dolphins, and that wasn't going to happen. Oh, YouTube video up in here. Germ Deasy says, "Go Bucks." Germ, thanks for coming in with the YouTube comment. Love it. Christopher Cole says, "Big Ben to CBS for a 6-pack." And Facebook user says, "Check out yeah. Oh no, there it is. That's actually the Sports Buzz. Take that link, check it out. I'm telling you, you're not going to regret it." Appreciate again James Cannida, former Buccaneer defensive lineman, former Indianapolis Colt defensive lineman, graduate of the University of Nevada. Love it and couldn't appreciate it. I couldn't have had this conversation tonight without James. In fact, I was going to have this conversation unless I could get James. And fortunately, James came in kind enough to come in on a Tuesday night. Thanks for joining me. I know I went a little off the rails. I hope we covered NIL a little bit. I hope we covered maybe the Kyle Trask thing. Again, you hear Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski are working out over at Legends Field. So now you're starting to go, okay, now, Gronk's not still out in Vegas by the pool from the draft party last month. He's actually in town, locking it down, in shape. Kind of knew that cat already was. Still has to make his mind up to come back and play this season. But, you hear him working out. You see the video. Starts to give you pause for cause to be hopeful that we do have Rob Gronkowski back here this year. Still don't know about Dominic Sue. Got to see what happens there. I know JPP. We got, we're talking about some of the other things. We're going to kind of get to that as we get near summer camp. Of course, the Buccaneers just went through their first round of OTAs in phase 3 of the NFL offseason program last weekend. So much more still to come. Thanks for joining me here for a Tuesday night cup of Ray. I hope you have a great evening. And remember, tonight it takes a little more of an added, importance for me. Everyone needs to know someone cares. Let's all be the ones to let them know. Reach out, let them know we care, we hear, and they'll hear back. Let's be there for each other, everybody. We're all together for a nice ride on this big blue marble. Let's make it as kind and courteous as we can. And during May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, let's be aware of not only our, but everyone else's mental health so we can all live copacetically and happily in this world. Have a great evening, and we'll see you next time on Cup of Ray.